were believed to be doctors, lawyers, engineers. But there are, non-traditional study. I have a degree in accounting, but I worked in banking and securities. I have a brother who is an oral surgeon. So it's a wide-ranging choice that you have. And as you can see, all over the United States, there are colleges to which you can apply and be accepted, because that's the goal here. And when is a good time to plan? What do you think is a good time to plan for college? 12th grade? Who thinks it's 12th grade? Absolutely not. Yes. So I would suggest you start at ninth grade. There are some people who start in the middle school. So in ninth grade, one of the things that I would encourage ninth graders to do is to get to know your counselor. I do understand that the counselors have a lot going on. However, they may not be able to see every student. It's my understanding there are 350 students to each counselor. So you will not get the best benefit, but you have to approach the counselor. Get to know your teachers. Develop good test-taking skills, good study habits. Work smart and hard. But here's another thing. It is so important to volunteer. Are there any folks in here who volunteer? Awesome. So let me tell you a personal story. My daughter is a sophomore in Temple University in Pennsylvania. She was a busy child. She was a leader person with the YMCA, which meant every Wednesday night she went to programs. She volunteered in the community, whether it's picking up trash in some areas, feeding the homeless, be a coach for a soccer team. So she was involved in that aspect. In addition to that, she was involved in organized sports. Any soccer player here? Awesome. So my daughter played soccer, but she also ran track. And she ran track all 4 years at Dunwoody High School and went to state. Not everyone will be. Hello. But if you work hard, you can. And with her dedication, and I know that you have dedication, and I know your parents have taught you well, and you're able to achieve whatever goal that you set your mind to. Well, my daughter was able to get a scholarship with track. So it's not only the academic work that's important, but other things. In addition to being involved as a volunteer, as an athlete, there are also enrichment programs. So during the summer, Georgia Tech has a STEM program for math and science. And there are other enrichment programs. Emory has a few of those. Do get involved at ninth grade. It is important to show yourself as a well-rounded student. In addition to that, it helps to build your student resume. And that's important when college admissions folks are looking at you in the whole world. So you could have a 4.0 and no volunteer, no other activities, and you may not, you will be considered, but they want to see a well-rounded student. That's so important. And I know that you probably have a youth group here in your church, and that's important too. So whatever activity you're involved here is helpful to be placed on your resume. So it's so important to show yourself in the community of what you're about and what you can do. And stay motivated. Stay motivated to your success. And for 10th grade, consider doing AP classes. Now, not all schools accept AP courses. However, the rigor that is experienced with AP classes will help you during your college years. So do consider that. Even more so, for AP classes, you can do the exam, the exit exam. And if you do well, you could be excluded from first-year classes. And that's money in your pocket. And who doesn't like that, money in your pocket? And there are also in-state exams, and there are dual enrollment where you can also enroll in college courses. I know DeKalb County has something called Move On When Ready. There's also work-based experiences, and I see the nodding of heads. And those are very important. Again, it builds you as your character, and it builds your resume also. And do consider taking the SAT and ACT. It's not too early. It gives you a chance to see how well you test, because that's important. Also, do get your high school transcript. It gives you an idea of where you are and what you need to improve upon, and start visiting colleges, not only in Georgia, but all over. And I do know of tours of historically Black college and university. So there are tours that do exist, and I can share that with you if you have an interest. Not saying that you will go to these schools, but you have an idea what an institution is looking for and what it looks like. And start college planning in 10th grade, believe it or not. Now for 11th grade. Now by 11th grade, you should have already done your AP test, SAT, ACT, and for the PSAT, which you may have taken in 9th grade. Has anyone taken the PSAT? Do you plan to take it again? Young man in the striped shirt. Yeah, you. Yeah, you do. Okay. Yeah, it's always great to improve your scores. And with the PSAT, how well a student does allow them to get the merit scholarship. That's a couple thousands of dollars in your pocket. That's free money. And get your high school transcript, start visiting college, and visit more colleges. Now, the next time the PSAT will be done is October 11th. So if you haven't signed up yet, it may be a little late for juniors. Now, by junior year, you should have at least know where you are. Your GPA should be known. Your SAT score should be viewed, because you can't wait until 12th grade. But by 11th grade, you'll start submitting your applications and transcripts and scores to various institutions that you have an interest in. And there's something called early decision. And does anyone, are we on the same page? Am I moving too fast? Great. And so by 11th grade, you should at least know where you're headed. Now, 12th grade. Woohoo! You're in 12th grade. I recommend that all the exams be out of the way, because this is when you want to enjoy your high school years. There are so many activities which are going to be done, given by your schools, and you want to be involved and not being involved in trying to get your scores better. So with planning, you're able to enjoy your senior year. And for parents, you do have a hand in this also. So by senior year, you should start filling out the FAFSA. We'll talk a little bit about that as I move along. So this is the federal financial aid. By October 1st, parents will start filling that out for your seniors in order for them to get federal aid. Now, if you don't fill this out, you're not able to get financial aid. So it's very, very important. And you'll make an appointment with a college planner. If you're not there, I'll be happy to assist in navigating such. And here's some test dates. Now, there will be a handout for those who are not aware of these dates to assist you and your students. And so we talk a lot about planning. Here's when the rubber meets the road. So just take a look at some of the costs when compared with 2016 and 2017. It's like, how much money do you have in a kitty? How much money do you have for your child? Now, private colleges are a vital part of your choice. Their cost is greater, yes, but they have a lot of donors. So that's something to consider, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move along. And so we have to have a plan A and plan B. I'll tell you a story about my daughter. I recommend, before I do that, I recommend at least 5 college choices. So you have your top one and 4 others. But for my daughter and I, we visited 12 schools. And why is that? My daughter was an athlete, so it was not only academics, which was not an issue for her, but she wanted a great place to run. I wanted a great coach to mentor her. So that was important to me. So I visited 12 colleges. And I got to talk to admissions folks, coaches, in order to determine what was the best fit for my child. And so in thinking, parents, what is the best fit for your child, you could consider a private school over public school. And in Georgia, we have several. Georgia State, UGA, and we have private colleges such as Oglethorpe, Agnes Scott, Emory. So those are considerations. And in-state and out-of-state. You want to go to North Carolina to UNC, go Tar Heels, or go as far as Pennsylvania or New York. Then consider the Ivy Leagues, the Princetons, the Yale, or an historically black college or university. Now there's several in-state. You have Morehouse and Spelman, which are highly rated. And just this past week, I read where they were, I think, 15 and 21 in all the colleges in this country. So they're there for your help. I'm a graduate of an HBCU. So there's value in the education. And I think that I was able to compete with many who have gone to Ivy League when I worked in Wall Street. So it's how much work and how much motivated you are that it doesn't matter where you go, you're still able to achieve your goals and dreams. So a plan A and plan B is something to look at. And so when planning, like anything else, we have to be specific, measurable, and it should be achievable. And it is achievable because you kids will learn to study hard, do your test, and we'll work on the planning so that when the application to colleges come about, you are ready, you have your transcript, you have your scores, you have your student resume, and if you're a soccer player, how many goals you kicked, how many goals you made, and so forth. So we will work together how to prepare and how to achieve those goals. And if you're not there at a certain point, then there are ways to achieve that. So do give me an opportunity to help you and your student to achieve such goals. And I'll have you read that it appears that it may be daunting and overwhelming, but with proper planning, your students can all go to college with little or no money out of your pocket. And I think this is what we all want. And that is the reason why I visited 12 schools, because I didn't want to pay a penny. I wanted my child's academic record and her athletic record to speak for itself, along with her volunteer opportunities, experiences that she had. All right, so we talked a little bit about federal student loan. This is one of the most important things. So this is the FAFSA, and it's what it says, free application for federal student loan. And you're encouraged to apply early. So for all the seniors who raised their hands, encourage your parents to work with you. Have conversation with your parents. Now, one of the first things with FAFSA, you, the student, have to start. There's something called FSAID, and that is the first step. So you has to take charge. Students, so you will create an ID. You will then include your parents' email address. Once that address is received, then your parents will act on it, and they will state your income and so forth, but you have to have communication with your parents. Now, October 1st is the first deadline, because the first person to submit it to the federal program will be the first considered. There are some schools that will give you till February 1st, but please don't wait till February 1st. Just start doing it October 1st. And we'll talk about free money. Free money. Free money, the grants, the scholarships. So this is where you come in, students. Writing well, testing well. Those things are very important because a lot of the scholarships that are out there require an essay, whether it's online or by paper. So you'll write an essay and submit something for them. And I've been through those as well. But FAFSA is important. And once you get to the admission process where you're accepted, the financial aid office is going to be your friend. And here's my story. So my daughter is an athlete, and in her college, there are 20 financial aid people. So there's one for academics and several for sports. Of course, football seems to be king. So, they work closely with them, but I called that financial aid person day in and day out, ensuring that whatever they offered was what was actually posted. In addition to that, I asked about additional scholarships. And believe it or not, there are additional. So we were able to get that additional too. So just having a rapport with the financial aid is going to be very important to you. So communication is very important. And so, word cloud. So these are some of the things that we talk about and some of the things that you have to consider. Be ready, plan ahead. Now, one of the things that, as a planner, what I do, I just don't simply say, this is what you're supposed to do. I try to learn a little bit about each student, and I want the students to learn a little bit about themselves. So there's an online aptitude test that exists, which I will share to whoever would like to work with me. And it will state what your strong points are and give you suggestions of degrees that you can pursue, because it's going to be important that you know exactly what you want. You do not want to be in college for 5 years. Once you know what you want, you're able to study and study hard and even come out a lot earlier. So that's going to be vital to you. So there will be an assessment, there will be a questionnaire for you students and for the parents, because I want to know a little bit about you in order to work with you. And we will talk about outcomes. So based on those assessments and questionnaire, we will give you those 5 colleges that will be considered as your priority. And we'll talk about apples and oranges. So you want to go here, but this is what it requires for your GPA. This is what it requires for your scores. This is the cost. So those are some of the things that we will work with. We can't just simply say, I want to go to Stanford. We want to know what is required. That is a great school. One of the things that I learned about Stanford, once you're accepted, you can get a full ride. But it starts from 9th grade with good grades and good scores. So in a meeting with me, some of the things we'll talk about is competency, as I touched on. Aptitude, hobbies, volunteer opportunities. And if you are needing a tutor, you may know of some, but I also have a few. My daughter used a tutor to help her to better her ACT scores. So it is possible, and she did that test 3 times. So it is possible. And then we'll talk about FAFSA. We'll talk about income of parents. Sorry, I have to know a little bit about you because there's some tax advantage depending on your income that is going to be beneficial to your students. And college visits are very important. And of course, extracurricular activities, which we talk about. And there's also non-traditional educational opportunities. You could be a veterinarian. You could do poultry science. The sky's the limit. And so there are unique scholarships for those. I do have a website which will narrow down what you want to study and what colleges that are out there. And so I've talked a lot and I've shared some information from the nods that I've seen. I know that a lot of students and a lot of parents may know and have planned well. But if you have any questions, please free to ask those questions at this time. And I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my knowledge. And if I don't have the answer today, I will forward those to you. And very shortly, you'll see my email address and contact information. So if you want to know some more, I'm here for you. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So do we have any questions? Thank you. Yes. Do you need a microphone? Yes. Yes. Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Absolutely. So in state, they're wanting all their children to attend their colleges within their state. And so they have in-state tuition. Now, they will accept other students so that their population is diverse because it takes a whole lot more than just the same students in the student body. There will be lots of classes which are going to be given and having that exchange, that exchange about this is my experience, this is what happened. So that's what they look for. All colleges make a concerted effort to look for certain group. So when they're planning, they know who they're looking for. For example, we visited a school in South Carolina called Wofford College. They can, folks in North Carolina said it's the Harvard of the South. It's a private college with lots of money. They offered us quite a bit. However, my daughter did not like the track program. So why are they wanting kids from, say, Georgia? They want their population to be diverse. And it's part of financial federal funding. So it's more than just you and I. So that's important for you to explore that. Did I answer that, Mr. Sullivan?
They have financial benefit of accepting from outside. If you are in state, you are paying 20,000, let's say. If you are out of state, you are paying 60,000. The school is receiving 60,000 from outside than accepting from the state itself, which is 20,000, 40,000 benefit. Therefore, they would rather have someone from out of state. And that's why we try to encourage them to stay in state because they are paying only 20,000 as exposed to 60, 80,000. I think that's the main thing you want to get.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And feel free to share your experience as well. Are there any other questions? Okay, great. It's great to see you. Yes.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for this very, very, very important information that you're sharing. Currently, I have two in college. Third one is on the way. I want you to elaborate. I heard you say about AP. I want you to elaborate about IB. Because there are schools that they give IB, but for many students that they may not know. So I want you to explain to them, rather me explaining to them. Second thing is, I know you mentioned about the Hope Scholarship, but then the Zell Miller Scholarship.
Absolutely.
So that is very important. What do they have to do to get the Zell Miller? And then also, what do they have to maintain in college to get Hope? Because Zell Miller pays full tuition. Hope Scholarship does not pay full tuition. So I want you to elaborate. Third thing is, can I go? All right.
Yes.
I'm speaking on behalf of you, by the way. All right. So this is very important. Third thing is, unfortunately, I want you to talk to the parents and as well the students about the middle class families. Because what I found out is either you have to be poor or you make less money, or you have to be rich. So if you are a middle income family, a middle class family, most of the time, the scholarship you get denied. Okay, so I want you to elaborate this, very important. The reason I say that is, with my first son, he had a high hope that he was going to get a full ride scholarship. He got the Zell Miller, he's an athlete, he's a track runner. You get that too. But don't forget, tuition is a portion. Room
Room and board, meal.
room and meal is the highest that you pay. You as
Absolutely.
parents, you have to understand that. So
Thank you.
I want you to elaborate these 3-4 points because this is very important. I'm sure a lot of parents does not understand until their children is either senior or they are at college. Because if you have a high hope, and then once you start going to college, it's like, well, why the government don't pay? So the government, if you are a middle class family, punishes you. But all these politicians, they say, oh, I'm for the middle class. That is, thank you.
Thank you. And so let's start with money in terms of being in middle class. So the max is 75,000. However, your tax accountant is going to help you because there is a tax credit, educational tax credit that exists that will assist you when you file your taxes. So it allows you, when you enter your information for 2016, there's a certain portion of FAFSA which will allow you to see the benefit, but that's something with you and your tax accountant. So it is possible. There are some things which are up to 100,000, so it depends. And for all the wealthy families here, you've got to be careful how you sell your security, believe it or not, because that will impact you. So you may want to delay selling assets for those who understand that, because it will definitely impact the capital gains. I can talk a little bit more about that one-on-one because not everyone is probably where each are. For IB classes, I know I don't know all the IB schools. I know Campbell. Okay, and so that's important. Now, one of the schools, when I went to visit Clemson, they were wanting more of those students. So I could assist in directing you to some of the colleges who are going to look at you favorably, whether you're in South Carolina or Georgia. So even though, yes, it's less money in Georgia, some of those schools out of state are looking for that knowledge in IB. And so we could direct you to some of those as we go through the process. So that is considered not just other classes. For AP classes, these are where you get more rigor rather. They're very rigorous classes. Psychology, and politics, math, science. So you're doing more work during high school. And so what that says to the admission person is that you understand the rigor and you're able to work in the college environment. So those are vitally important. As previously mentioned, once you do the AP classes, it is also important to do the external exams. Because if you do that, you could be excluded. You don't have to do those classes for the first year. And so that's less money. So if the counselors are wanting you to do certain courses and you have done an AP class, and you've taken the test, and you've done well, you've gotten a 4 or 5, you may not have to do that. And so that's less money for tuition. So hopefully I answered some of your question. But in terms of the income person, it's very personalized. So it's very, I would prefer to work with you independently. And that's something I'm going to a training session about that actually, because, there are some people who will earn 100,000 and they still can get the federal aid. So it is possible. So I'll be willing to share that information as well. So those were pretty great questions, and I hope that I've answered some of them in some semblance. The Zell Miller, thank you. So those are for with high GPA. And so for I think it's 3.7 and above. And you have to maintain your GPA. Are you? Yes, 3.2 in college for Georgia colleges. Now, one of the experiences that I have about Hope Scholarships, I know there's some students who are high achievers and have great GPAs, 3.7 and above, and they're able to get the Zell Miller and whatnot. But we went to Kennesaw. It's a great institution. And the Hope covered an upper room and board. So we didn't choose Kennesaw for that reason. So, when you look, again, apples to apples, what is it that you're getting in Georgia? So that's a consideration. For us, for example, uh, my daughter's two schools were Kennesaw and Temple. Temple came out ahead. That's an out-of-state institution. So they looked at her as a whole child. So they looked at her academic records, all the track she's done, all the volunteer she's done, because they told me so. And when she was offered a scholarship by the track person, I was talking track, and he said, oh no, that's a given. We want your kid to achieve her goals academically. So again, study hard, work hard, but do consider extracurricular activities because they do have bearing in your acceptance in colleges. Did I make it clear, sir? Thank you. And I know the students thank you too. Yes, young lady.
But so I knew like when I came to high school what I wanted to do and what I wanted to go, and that like I kept that in my mind. But as I came towards senior year, I was like, okay, well I kind of want to like specialize in this or double major and stuff like that. And then as like people would ask me like, what do you want to do and stuff, and I would tell them, they're like, why do you want to do that? Like, why don't you be a doctor? Why don't you be a lawyer? I'm like, there's other things in the world. So can you talk about like the different things you can like major in and like, oh, there's like good things out there, you guys. Like,
Absolutely. Now let me ask you, what do you plan to major in college?
well, I want to double major in computer science and mathematics.
Oh, there you go. Science and math. So there's the Georgia Tech and there's all those schools. And what's your current GPA? You want to share that?
I have a 3.8.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So your future is bright.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I also have another question. Sorry to interrupt, but so I know like everyone knows of like the Hope and the Zell Miller, but like, can you also elaborate on the other types of scholarships there is? Because like people might be like, oh, I can't get Zell Miller, so the only hope I have is Hope. But you don't, like there's other scholarships you can do if you just really look into it. Like I know if you go to Brookwood High School, yeah, there's a book of scholarships that tell you like what kind of scholarships you can get, and like also like you said, for the middle class, like we don't really have hope in going to scholarships. So
I hear you.
also that.
Absolutely. Thank you for your question. And thank you for standing up and asking. Now, one of the things that exists, if you're saying that you're not quite sure, you have an aptitude, obviously, for math and science, which is awesome, because they're needing more minorities in that field. I know a young lady who's at Georgia Tech right now. Lydia knows her too. So it is possible. So for that young lady, let me use her as an example. You can tell her. She applied to every scholarship that existed that she could possibly find. So yes, she got the Zell Miller, but she also received other scholarships. So I think they're probably paying her at this point to go because there's so much money that's coming. So some of the grants and scholarships that exist, they will probably go directly to the schools. Some of the private scholarships. So there might be a family who has a foundation and they may ask that you write an essay about a certain topic and they will actually hand you a check. There are a couple of others that will send it directly to the school. Now, once it goes to the school and they calculate your room and board, that is a refund for you. So it is possible. So it's not only Zell Miller, but there are grants and scholarships that exist. So there's a wealth of information out there about that. And I learned about that too, even though I know a little bit about this through my daughter, that just simply asking and looking for more, and there are a couple of websites that I have available that I'm willing to share too, that will hone down what you're wanting. So say you want to do science and math, or you want to be an engineer, mechanical, chemical, whatever that part is, there are certain scholarships. There are deadlines and they're very specific. So the more you apply for, the more chances that you will receive that. And with your grade and there are others, it is very possible. So writing well is very important. And so you can ask your counselor, or I could find, I have an associate who's a writer for AJC. She'll be willing to work with you with your essays to make sure it's specific to what is required for those scholarships. I hope I answered your question. Yes. Okay, great. Now, it's going to be important to make a decision about where you want to go. If you've been accepted to a school with the expectation that you will move on somewhere else, sometimes you lose that credit. So do consider that. So if you're going to, say, Georgia State, and you want to go to Tech, probably that's the line of questioning, you'll have to see the courses that are offered. So you may achieve 20 credits at Georgia State, but there's no match at Georgia Tech. So that will be an extra year, an extra half a semester for you. So yes, it's possible to start out at a junior college, do a 2-year, move on, but you really have to look at the cost. It's very possible. There's some folks who can only afford 2-year, and that's something you'll do. But really look at credits which are required. And for Georgia Tech, it is an awesome institution. It's an awesome institution for math and science, because the cost is great. So for business, they do offer a lot of courses, but do consider that. Do consider the value of what you're getting. It is very prestigious, but you have to maintain your grades once you get there. It is rigorous, but there's value for your money when you come out. And I think I heard you say, most parents want you to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. Absolutely, that's exactly how my parents thought. Now, two of my brothers actually heard them. One is a doctor, one is an engineer, but the engineer ended up being a correction officer. That's why. That's his passion. That's his passion. So this is some of the things that we're talking about, that you'll do these aptitude tests to make sure this is what you truly want. Now, he's lucky to be very successful in that role today, and he lives in New York. Both brothers live in New York. And for the doctors, my brother, who's an oral surgeon, it took him 14 years in college. But he's a doctor today who is successful, and he gives back. So it's not only getting an education, but also, yeah, I understand. Don't worry about that, because there's value in it. He owns his practice. He teaches at a dental school. So see, the sky's the limit. So don't be worried about how long it takes. It's what your goal is. And at the end of the day, he's making a great living, and he volunteers even today. He travels to the Caribbean for free to help out folks in it. So there's value in the education you get. So don't worry about, I know I said 14 and I probably scared a couple of you, but it went by so quickly. He makes a great living, like I mentioned, but he volunteers also. Yes. Oh, not at all. When you're going to be a doctor, there's no chance to work. So, he did his undergrad at Boston College. He transferred to Columbia, and then he did his residency. And he loved medicine so much, because he wanted to be simply a dentist. He became an oral surgeon, and he helped with implants and so on. And then he could run a hospital. So it depends on who you are. But he was a young student who was eager to learn and eager to achieve. So that worked very well for him. So, but you can, if that's your goal, just be committed and study hard and work hard. And I'm sure he was well-rounded. He had fun. He traveled some during his school year. So it's not just studying all throughout. There's so much opportunity. He met so many people along the way, and you are able to have that experience too. thank you for that because we do have several that, if you want me to work with you, those are some of the things. Because I want to know about you, not just simply say this is what your kid needs. I want to know what is your aspiration for your child, and for your child, what is their aptitude? What are they good at? What are some additional things that they can do? And so we can narrow it down, and I'll make suggestions. So ultimately, the decision is going to be your own, but at least you'll be armed with the information to make such good choices. Young lady.
Okay, so I had a question about like AP courses versus dual enrollment, and even further, like full-time dual enrollment versus part-time dual enrollment. And I was going to ask about what you were saying about Stanford earlier. And there's another question that I'm going to.
Okay. So you want to know if it's important to do dual enrollment here in high school. Okay, that's a very good question. So it depends on what you're trying to study and how far ahead you would like to go. So if you're wanting to do math and science, those AP classes are going to give you a good handle about where you are with statistics and those complicated math things that you don't know about, but you know and you're good at, but that will allow you to make a choice. Now, when you do those college courses with a dual enrollment, and what the dual enrollment means, you go to school and you also go to college. And it allows you to be successful. I know kids who have done all of those, AP dual, and they're able to go to college and be able to be finished in a short time, depending on their major. So it's an individual situation which we'll have to assess, but you can do all three, school, AP, dual enrollment, or one or the other. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So I would have to look at you individually to determine what is the best way to go and how your GPA is balancing out with those extra activities. It's an individual situation, but it is possible to do all three. Depends on the aptitude of each student. Thank you. Yes. So you have until sophomore year to really hone what you want to do. So you will go in with an idea. We want you to at least have an idea what you want to do. But here's how we're going to narrow this down. So you're not doing extra courses which will cost your parents money. We're going to do those aptitude tests. We're going to talk to your parents and talk to you to see truly what you want. You will do those elective courses in the first year, and you will get a chance to do at least one of the courses for your major, and you will determine what you want. There are some kids that will change their major as they go along, depending on how much information that exists and what the school requirements are. So when you go to school, they will say the first year, this is what you take, sophomore, and so on, and this is the amount of credits which is required. So based on that and based on where you come in, you will work together with your advisor to determine that. So hopefully that helps. But changing your major several times, may not be the best way because it may lengthen your college stay. And you're wanting to come out and make good money and make a contribution to society. So this is why planning is important. So that, that isn't something that you have to be involved with, but it's also something that's done quite a bit. I went in wanting to do economics, and I came out doing accounting. So I went in with something else. Not that I changed, but as I learned more about what was offered by my school, I was able to make that decision. For Stanford, I met with a college professor at Stanford because I'm involved in an organization. And he came to talk to the students. And one of the things he indicated is write well, study hard, get good grades. That's all he said. Now, I think they accepted probably 3,000 this year, at 35,000. But once you get in, you can get a scholarship. So you have to start from nicely and prior, study hard, make good grades. And you heard me, study hard, make good grades. and the rest will come. So hopefully that helps. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
First question I have is there any scholarship that you can say kids can take out of state? I know, for example, Hope Scholarship stays here only, but my daughter, she went out of state. So is there any scholarship that she can earn it and take it with her? The second question I have is, last year I remember I was listening to NPR for low income and minority kids in those make-believe colleges. Even though they seem very expensive, but there are a lot of accommodations for them. So if you know anything, can you shed some light about it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So there is a wealth of information. There are a couple of websites I'm available, that I have available that could help with determining what scholarships there are. Now, I don't know if your students are speaking with your counselor in college. Young lady, have you spoken with your counselor in high school?
I'm a dual enrollment student, so I talk to her like every day in both the college and the high school.
Okay, wonderful. All right, but it's going to be important too because sometimes they have scholarships that may not be published. So there may be private foundation that exists that will allow you to take that scholarship to wherever, not only in Georgia, but in other states. I also know that Tennessee is one state that will accept students, but give them the same benefit as if they're in Georgia. So Tennessee is one of those states that does that. So you don't have to pay out of state once you have certain GPA requirements, which are there. In addition to the low income, absolutely. So if you have brown hair and you're left-handed, there are some scholarships for that. There's a website. And if you're ambidextrous, that's even better, you know. So there are scholarships with different unusual requirements. Yeah. So this is going to be important that, you know, we have those conversations, about what you really like or what you have done. So you could volunteer for the homeless shelter, and that organization could offer scholarship. Not only that you're offering to the homeless shelter, there's a CEO right next to you that you could actually talk to, and his organization may have scholarships. So there are various ways, creative ways to get the scholarship. And for me, money was important to me when my child was going through the process. You know, I remember one place I went, they said, gosh, you're concerned about money. Thank you. Thank you so much. For me, one of the persons said, gosh, you're concerned about money. I said, absolutely. You know, I have invested in my child. She's done well, and I want you to pay her for coming to your school. That school was not on our list. So once your child gets accepted, the financial aid will work with you. They won't tell you at first. So once the child is there, make friends. And remember one of my PowerPoints, make friends with the financial aid. Call them. They may not sound really great, as in my case, but I constantly called. And by calling, I learned about an additional scholarship that existed for her. So it's one of those things that we can definitely talk about one-on-one, about some of the things that can be done as part of my planning process. So hopefully I answer your question. Yes. Yes. Can I let her? Yeah.
So one of my dream colleges is Stanford, like Demiana said, and like the Bill Gates scholarship is like one of the few scholarships that accept only 300 students in the United States, and it pays for your for 4 years. So I have a question about how.
Well, the big Bill Gates scholarship was for a period of time, and it's going to come back. It's not around right now. They're reinventing that scholarship. So there are other scholarships, but that one was a great program where you had to write several essays over time. It's still open now? Oh, it started. So I knew they had taken a little break and re-engineering that. And then you'll have to go to the website and look for the requirements. And what I do remember the last time that I went to a forum, there are several forums of such which are held throughout Georgia. And the folks from, actually, we met the lady who distributed the fund. So I would encourage you to go to one of those forums and see if the requirement has changed since the last time that it was around. But that's not the only one you should look for, because now that's going to require you to write a lot of essays based on the timetable and whatnot. But there are other scholarships that exist also. So don't just concentrate on one. Go and, every last one that you can apply for, do so. Because you can get money in your pocket, you can purchase a computer and whatnot if that's not part of your scholarship. So the funding is going to be important, but knowing where to go is what's going to matter. But that was a great question. And you have one more thing about Stanford?
Well, it's actually, let's say if you want to go to college out of the country.
Okay, all right, so very good question. So you will definitely look at the requirements. Now, there are several colleges that have study abroad. So do consider that. And believe it or not, I know I have a family member who went to Spain for the whole year. She went to Temple, and Temple has a study abroad. Temple also have a campus in Japan. So there are American students who go to Japan, or they go through other immersion for different countries. So that's very important. So Temple does. A lot of the schools do have study abroad. I'm not so sure about Georgia colleges, but I know North Carolina, UNC does, and a couple of other schools does have study abroad. So if that's something you have an interest in, we can definitely explore that.
So what we'll do is questions for people that haven't asked yet, okay? So questions.
So for like the Hope Scholarship, can you like tell me like what's the GPA requirement and like how much like it covers and what it covers? College.
So the Hope Scholarship covers tuition only. It doesn't cover the room and board. It was once in a lifetime that it did, but politics got in the way, and so not so much room and board. So if you go to a school here in Georgia, it will pay for tuition. Room and board is something you have to look into, and this is where the other scholarships will come in. The GPA, I think it's 2.8. 3.0, okay. Okay, there's some students. Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, so you have to maintain GPA. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. And I just want to make a suggestion or kind of a point from experience or from hearing friends. So if you want to go to one of the big schools, kind of Stanford, UCLA, one of the in the US, a lot of the students' parents, they make a ton of money, over $1 million, 500,000. So if your parents make less than 100,000, you are almost guaranteed to take kind of a full scholarship. So they will pay a lot for your assistance as long as you get into the school. So don't worry about your financial status. If you are kind of striving to go to Stanford, Harvard, those type of schools, because the demographics there, they make a lot of money and they are willing to reward students that their parents are not, that don't make a lot of money. And another question I had was about the taxes. When you file FAFSA, you mentioned the deadline is from October to February, but at that point, the parents don't have their 2017 tax returns, right? So how does that work? Do you file in with 2016 tax?
2016.
Okay.
2016 is what is asked. And if it's needed to be updated, depending on the institution, then that is, you can do that later, but at least they want to know that you're in the running, that you have applied. And again, that's from experience. And when you get into FAFSA, this may not make sense yet, you can select the school that you want to receive your information. And if you don't have your taxes, we could talk a little bit about that, because once you file your taxes, it's with IRS. So it's recorded already. So there is something that you could get if you don't have your information. But the information regarding 2016 taxes is going to be important right now. I'm glad that you highlighted that. And I'm also glad you highlighted the scholarship. As I previously stated, once you get in Stanford, very likely you can get a scholarship at getting in. So work hard, study hard is the mantra for me. Yes.
Hey, I'm in 10th grade, and I was thinking about taking the Move On When Ready program to actually help me with what I want to major in. But I know they have colleges with internships which help you, but do they also have internships for like high school that also want to like help you with what you want to do, not with the major or anything like that?
So you're asking if colleges can help you to make a decision.
I mean, like, do they have internships for like high schools or anything like that? Like programs for.
That's a really good question. So the enrichment programs that I talk about will give you an idea. Like Georgia Tech does have a science and math enrichment program every summer. Some of it is paid, some of it is 1 day, some of it is 1 week. If you're wanting to work, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question as a high schooler, there is Inroads. So it's an organization that have high schoolers who will work in the summer. Some of it is paid, some of it is unpaid, and you're able to see an environment, whichever that is. So it could be Cox, it could be Coke. You could see what they do depending on your interests, but at least you'll see how it functions. So the colleges will not do that. What I can help you to do is to send you a website if we work together to determine your aptitude. So you'll determine these are some of the things that you'll be good at based on how you answer the question. These are some of the things you could pursue. And by determining that, you could talk to professionals who are in those fields to see what exactly does it take and what school offers that. So one may be biochemical engineering that you have an interest in. You know, what school actually offers that? What does it take? And you could talk to engineers and they will give you an idea. So that's my suggestion. But in terms of in 10th grader, you have to start planning and doing the test and doing those things. But you have to know what you like so far. So what do you think you're good at this time?
So I'm in TSA, in which I have a group of friends in which we're entering the competition for gaming design, in which the theme is arcade mode and everything. So then with that, I want to major in, I want to major in computer science, because that's how they actually give you more of a boost in which you're able to go to what college or no, yeah, major in, go to any company which is good for, and yeah.
Okay, no problem. So, you know, like what you're doing, are there competitions for what you do currently that you'll do this as a group and there's an organized competition where you can go to display your skills? Absolutely. So when you go to such a forum, there are professionals there who will judge you. So you be bold. Ask them, you know, I have an interest in this and I'm passionate about this. And they can help you with that too. But I don't know if a college that currently work with 10th grade to facilitate what you need, but there's still a path to learning more and honing your skill about your aptitude and abilities. So you're well on your way by entering competition, pretty much like robotics and whatnot. And so there are a lot of organizations and professionals who really like that, to see kids as young as you are who are doing great things. So continue doing that. Study hard and work hard.
We have one here first, and we'll take one more questions, okay?
Yes.
Hi, I just want to make a comment first, and then I have a question.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want to tell you guys, you've covered everything, and thank you for coming. When you guys go to college, you have to be assertive. Nobody's going to follow you, and they're not going to say, oh, you're missing this document and that document, this signature. No one will say that, so you have to do everything yourself. Know that, please. And then if you don't do it on time, you don't get the money. That's my my experience. So from my experience, and then what else I want to say is, like you said, make friends with the financial aid. I went to Mercer University. My mother only made like 25,000 a year, and it was like 6 of us. So so I made friends with the financial aid officers. So she helped me so much. There were days when I was sitting in class and I was like, there was a balance and I didn't know if they were going to drop my class or not. And so she would call me and she would call churches, organizations, and she would come up with the money. So be friends with them, ask questions. You have to ask questions, not just the officers, even students. Be like, how are you paying for this? Just ask questions. It will help a lot. What else? Financially, that, and then the whole scholarship thing. Since we're at church, spiritually speaking, you guys have to be strong in your faith. When you go to college, you will meet people that will shake your faith. Like when I was taking microbiology, which the professor I really admired started talking about, like, the Big Bang Theory, how man was created. And it really, it really is convincing. So you guys have to be very careful. If you have questions, come and talk to the priests. What else? Sorry.
No, that was great. I thank you for that insight.
Yeah, because there's a problem with this stuff. Yeah. What else? I was gonna say something important. Sorry. Yeah, the Hope Scholarship thing. When I went to Mercer, I ran out of my credit. And they wouldn't give me, they said, I think it was 120 credit hours. So my question with that is, I graduated 7 years ago. So is that still the same? Do they not give you any more money after you hit certain credit hours? Like if you guys are doing dual or, multiple majoring and minoring, that may be a problem. So if you can answer that. And then can I introduce you guys to nursing? Nursing is a great field. I'm not just being biased. And it's not only for women, it's for men too. You can make a lot of money. And being a nurse, you don't have to work in the hospital. You don't have to check blood, maybe the first 2 years so you can have experience. But after that, you can work for insurance companies. You can do so much more. You can make like $65 an hour. So just look into nursing, please. And then you can advance to nurse practitioner, so many things. Educator, you can do law. Nursing is very versatile, so please look into it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your insight. And that's what we were talking about, that I know a lot of parents want certain things, but they're non-traditional degrees, and I absolutely for nursing. And with the way our economy is going, health field, not only being a doctor, but nursing, it is much needed, much needed. And you do not have to be a bedside nurse, as she mentioned. There are private organizations, there are families in which you can work with. So as long as you have a degree, you are qualified to go in and see someone. Young man?
So my brother and I are in the IB course, and who goes on the IB course? Mm-hmm. So like, is taking dual enrollment better than taking IB?
Right. Now, does your school allow for you to go off-site, and are you able to achieve the requirements of IB? So that's the thing. So the courses I know for IB are vigorous. I know a couple of kids at Riverwood and Campbell, and the school that you attend. So have you worked closely with your counselor? Because that's going to be important. So can you go off-site for those additional college courses? Do you have a break in your schedule to do so? Right. So that's the thing. Once you do a pathway, it may not allow you to do the college ready program that exists in DeKalb. And those are some of the things that you have to think about, that you may not be able to be granted permission to go to the colleges to do so. And there are lots of pathway. I know that, for example, there's mass communication that's taught at Dunwoody High School. There's Finance Academy. There are so many things, and other schools probably have similar programs. And I do know that kids in these academies, because of their involvement, they're able to travel. Many have gone to New York, and they're able to talk to people in those fields. So they're able to determine what are all the career choices in these fields, and what can I begin to look at in selecting a college? So again, it's important to have those conversations with your counselor if you can. And if you're not able to do so, I will work closely with you too. So I may not have all the answers today, but I can definitely find out based on the resources that I currently have.
Yeah. Let me give this young man one more chance. You've been wanting to ask.
Absolutely.
Oh, is
Good
it hard?
afternoon, young man.
Is it hard to get an athletic scholarship?
Ah, good question. Thank you. It's not. So what is your sports of choice?
Basketball.
Okay, absolutely. All right. So you want to be like Mike. Well, I'm aging. Stephen Curry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Now, and you play what position? Okay, good. Okay, so there are programs. So if you have an interest and you're good at it, it's very possible for you to get that. Now, once you get to college, it's hard work. So my daughter runs track. She actually, so it's fun, it's great, but she has to work out twice a day and carry her course studies. So just consider how committed, how passionate you are about that. So it's not just doing it here and there. There is work to be done. It's a job when you get the scholarship. They'll give you a full ride, but you have to perform too. So if you're good at it, just continue to do the extra things. One of the things that my daughter did, I had to hire a private person to help her to become better at track, you know, because it is competitive at that level, but it is possible. And if you have an interest in that, then we'll talk about eligibility and what that looks like, because there are other organizations to which you can get scholarships once you get to that level. So it is possible. Keep going. Yes, sir.
Students, when you are 2 years or even your first year, you can make money. Internship.
Okay.
So can you elaborate on that, or you know, if you
So
want
you're
me-
saying 2 years, so a 10th grader can get
No,
internship?
not in high school, but when you are in college, about internships. So can you talk about, so that way in the summertime, instead of working like in this
Absolutely.
$7, you can go to these good companies and then make money, and then that can go toward your, you know, so if you don't mind.
Okay, great. That is a great question. So the school has a career center. They may call it something else, but that's basically what it is. And it could also be work study too. So you could have work study with your financial aid, and you could work extra in the summer, and that's considered internship. There are a lot of companies that have a forum for students that will go to the college campuses and interview students. So your interviewing skills are going to be important as well. And you make money. And let me cite an example. A young lady, she went to University of Maryland, and her degree is engineering. She went to Dubai. She went to Dubai for 3 months. The company paid her and paid for her stay. So there are internships which are locally in the state that you are going, whether it's Georgia, South Carolina, wherever, but there are others overseas as well. But you have to apply yourself. You have to interview well. You have to have a good resume, and you can definitely get paid. All right. I hope I've answered all your questions, and if I have not, there will be, Ms. Zazarin will be able to pass out some information. You can contact me. I am willing to work with you. So I'm a college planner. So I will work closely with you and your students. So, you know, just let me know what I can do to assist you and your students. And I'm here for you. Absolutely. Thank you.
These flyers, let's initially give the seniors, juniors, maybe sophomores. And if additional people need it, then we'll make more copies and give it to you next week, okay?
Hey, hold on. Have a seat, please. Have a seat. What? Come on. We have to thank her too. Okay. While they are distributing the papers, please keep quiet. Quiet. We would like to thank you for coming and for giving your insights. We are thankful for that. We really hope to see you again also in the near future, and so we really are thankful for what you did, and I'm sure they have benefited, and thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, very nice. Okay. Of you, the summary, smart. Did you hear earlier? It was smart. Can someone tell me what S represents on that smart that was given? She said smart, right? Abbreviated. So what does smart S? Be specific. This is very important. Oh, I don't know what I like. I like science. I like this. I like this. You have to be able to be specifically know what you need to do. M. Henok. Measurable. You have to be able. You have to be specific, and then am I going towards that goal? You have to be able to measure where you are right now in regard to what you wanted to go. You have to be able to measure it. Am I getting closer? Am I doing a good job? That one. So smart. Then A. What is A? And not Henok. Someone else. Huh? Hey, go ahead. Huh? Attainable. Achievable. The third one is achievable. The goals that you are setting, I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. I want to be this. That's not. Can I attain it? Can I achieve it? Is it achievable for me with the level that I am in? So, specific, measurable, achievable, and then are relevant. Okay. And the last one is T. Time specific. It's not just time. Time specific, meaning if you are going, am I taking in October this exam for me to get accepted this year? That is very important. Time specific. There is always deadline for everything. You have to be able to know that. Your parents can help you, but you should be the first one to run for it. And SMART, please remember that it's very good acronym. Thank you, and may God bless you.